Hey guys, you got the lady hippie at the bar again. Yesterday I had a lot of trouble. I didn't check the video. I'm sorry, I was busy. And so I ended up checking it at like 11 o'clock last night. And I found you could not hear me. Somehow I didn't have the microphone close enough. And that's because it gets very loud in my headphones if I do. And I don't want it to sound like that. But I do appreciate you sitting through that. Um, I got to tell y'all, it's going to be one of those days. I think I've got everything you can think of under the sun to do today. We won't even talk about the errands I have to get out there in that traffic, but I've been talking to some friends, a few people. They are very supportive of the fact that I have started my own podcast, and some of them thought that I should go ahead and drop. excuse me, I have terrible allergies. Videos in and do the picture in a picture. And again, it doesn't seem quite right to me to just randomly pick someone else's from another channel. They need their algorithms too. But I always leave a like and sometimes a comment. I always leave a like on those and I subscribe to those. I thought maybe it might be interesting if I said to everybody why, not that I'm just doing this, but that I've been investigated the paranormal for decades. And there's a couple of reasons why, and I'm hoping I can run through them real quick. Instead of usually, I will do a little bit of content about world events and so forth and so on. And unfortunately, it's just getting more depressing. So, I don't want to get that too far into it. So I'm not sure how quickly I can put this. I became interested in the paranormal when I was 9 years old. I'm adopted. I'm actually the year I was adopted, but I was a foster child for 2 years to them before I was adopted, which put us on the cover of Parade magazine because my sister and I were adopted by this couple who had been through World War II and so forth. Really, were grandparents' age. Ended up on the front cover of the Parade magazine, and then there's another story behind all that. But to skip forward about a year, they had bought the home, they had left the apartment, and I turned around. I was always standing up in a box to help mom out. So, she did the cooking generally. I would go in and do the dishes. My sister wasn't good at that stuff. So, so I jumped up on the box. I'm doing dishes, cleaning the kitchen. And I mean, cleaning the kitchen, just doing the dishes was not cleaning the kitchen, guys, just so you, FYI. And we women know this. So I turned around to get the dish towel, and I had gotten off my little thing. And there's a back door there with a window in it, huge window, old house, about 100 some years. And so I turned, and what I did, I froze. I understood the word petrified then, even though I was just not quite 10. So what I saw in that window, and to this day, I can't describe it. All I can tell you is that in my head, I'm running and screaming, and, you know, I'm sure that this thing is going to kill us all. And I've never liked movies that do that and so forth, books. I don't deal with any of that because that's just inviting it. So I've never done that. And that's one of the reasons. And I couldn't move. I couldn't, in your head, you're running, screaming, you're not moving. um, Suddenly, and I don't know how long I stood there immobilized like that. But suddenly I heard my mother yell something, and it seemed to break the connection, whatever. It allowed me to move. Pixie, I see you there. That's my cat Pixie. We have actually a cat sanctuary, so you will see the cute little faces all the time, and me with a spray bottle hitting it back. So it releases me, or it was enough to shake me from the stupor of being petrified, and I was able to running, and I couldn't scream, I couldn't talk. It was like, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, you're talking, but nothing's coming out but like screaming. It's just, it was awful. And the poor mother, she didn't know what to do. She was a wonderful woman. I only had a mother for like 7 years, and then I was in the army. So um, I finally managed to, she went on into the kitchen to see, because I'd come running from there. And she thought maybe somebody had broken the house because I wasn't making any sense. Runs into the kitchen, nothing there. And finally, I just tell her I must have seen a reflection the wrong way. I mean, she made me some chamomile tea. and this is another reason I don't get to this day. It's really calming tea. Um, and so, and even I had convinced myself that I had not really seen anything, that it was just a reflection, and I caught her wrong. They call it pareidolia. But I wasn't quite 10 years old at that point, and let it go. But I had this from day one. Nobody wanted to go down in the basement. Dad would Rambo anything. World War II Navy guy, was out in the Pacific. But mother did the laundry, and I used to help her. Again, we didn't have a dryer. We had the old wringer washer. You had to wring them through this little roller, and then put them and take them outside and hang them up. And we had one of those slanted doors, so it was like that at the basement. And then you have a big set of staircase that went up into the house on the other side of the basement. And so I would always go with her to help hang the clothing and so forth. And generally, after it was about 11, I took all of that because she was not a young woman. In any event, uh, one day I heard this awful thumping, and it turned out to be my mother had fallen. I knew where the sound was coming from, and I ran to the basement door, and she was lying in a heap, and it came down, and then it kind of curved, and you had 3 or 4 more stairs. I can't quite remember. It's been a long time. So I run downstairs, and she's white as a sheet. She's got to be hurting because I'm around her age now. And when I fell the other day, I still hurt. It's like I got in a car wreck. So, I'm trying to get her to her feet because she was not a small woman either. And I might have been 10 by then. And, Mom, we've got to climb up. And it seemed forever to get her upstairs. And she was trembling all over. What is this? This was a very calm woman. And it frightened me, even at that age, that she was so upset that she couldn't speak either. And I thought, oh my God, that thing was real. And so I did the same for her. I made her chamomile tea, and then I got a stiffener for her. That's what you did with back those days for ladies. So I think it was a small thing of brandy, just a shot glass or tipping glass, mother called them. And she took that one and asked for a second one. And again, this is not my mother. She didn't do those things like that. So I ran back. I got her another one. She was sipping the tea. Took that one, and then she reached out and she hugged me. And she said, "Do you remember that day you were screaming in the kitchen and you ran to me?" She said, "I think I saw what you did." And she couldn't describe it either except pure evil. And that she hadn't seen it. She had felt a push, which sent her down the stairs. And then she saw it. And it frightened her so badly. And that was kind of my first, second incursion into the paranormal. At that time, only Ed and Lorraine Warren were really dealing with that type of phenomena. Today, you can't, every other channel is paranormal, paranormal, it's all paranormal. But we all have cameras, we all have videos, we all can upload instantly. So this is something that is taken off. Sightings was what I was watching. X-Files sightings, taps, ghost hunters, and they really trained, if you ask me, even by TV, the rest of us to learn how to hunt. They invented different types of equipment. Those equipment still used. I like the Kinect camera the best. Shows the stick figure. You can't see it, but that Kinect camera picks it up, shows a stick figure. And sometimes it'll be like this high, standing on somebody's shoulders, and next time it might be 10 feet. Um, Going up the wall and across the ceiling. They are finding some amazing things. So I didn't want mother to go back down the stairs, and I don't think she could have really. I would see her catch herself at the door with a laundry, and I would go down. Now, mind you, when I did this, again, sisters nowhere, you would run down, throw them in there, and then run back up because you just knew somebody. And these were the open stairs, so somebody could come at you. And it was always somebody's going to reach through there and grab my ankle. And I was already taking karate lessons at that point as well. But how do you fight something like that is what I'm thinking. And I've already seen it myself. And the paralyzing effect is just, but you're terrified. You're running flat out. I mean, I was faster than the wind every time I went down and ran back out. And I hated the downstairs coming from the house the worst because they had the most stairs. But I also hated the left, I called it the left and right side of the basement, where the other door the slanted door had about 6 or 7 wooden steps, and so you had to open the door and fling it back, and then run up the stairs. And so I would go outside if it was nice. And it was not that nice usually in Chicago, but I would run outside, open that door so that I could just run with the clothes to be hung. And my mom couldn't have run, but I never told her how bad it was. Not that how hard it was to go in and out of there, but she knew, and it happened to her, so she knew it was very difficult. And something wasn't just scaring us; there was something there. And this was every time you went down. I got to where I would hand wash some things because I didn't want to go down. And then Dad bought her a washer and a dryer, a new set. I think it was Maytag back then. He had saved up. It was a really great thing for him to do, which was really for me because Mom didn't do the laundry. So now it was run down, throw the stuff in, run back up. So, and I had a choice. I could run outside. I could open that door first and run outside, or I could run up the stairs to go into the house. Either way, you ran. I ran the entire time, and always just felt something was about to get me. But it wouldn't start so much at first. It's after you pretty much hit the bottom of the staircase, and then it was just all enveloping, and you're scared. You're being watched. Everybody knows when they're being watched. They can feel it. So I had all those years there before I went into the military, which was 17. So I had a decade of this. The second time that this thing I saw was again in that window in the back porch to the back door. Again, I was doing dishes, cleaning the kitchen, just happened to turn, and I could not move again. And I can't describe this thing. It was just so evil. It was demonic. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a ghost. It was evil. It just radiated it, and it wanted you to be in total fear, and it worked. Because once again, I couldn't move, and again, I got lucky. My mom said, "Did you need anything?" And again, it just like it blinked out, and then I could move. And I didn't want to scare her, so I walked out of the kitchen, just in my head going, just calm down, calm down, calm down. So I said, I'm okay. And I went back. I don't know how I did it. I went back in the kitchen to make me some chamomile tea and my mother a cup of coffee. And we sat down and I said what was going on. And it's happened again. And it's at the back porch. And she tried every church within, 40 miles. Nobody would do anything about that back then. They wouldn't come do a blessing of the home even. And I didn't know much about it. So that started me looking. I did have one occasion where the ghost of my uncle, my adopted father's brother, was a great guy and loved him dearly. When I was 12 years old, he was killed in a car accident. And we didn't have air conditioning. Not every home had it back then. And we didn't have a window unit. We had a fan. And believe me, Chicago gets very cold and it gets very hot. It's like no medium. And so I'm trying to catch this on film. And I have just this little like 110 camera. And back then you had to wait 4 weeks for your film to come back, and you had to pay a 22.50, and only 2 photos would come out. The rest were black. I love that stuff. And then I got a Polaroid camera from my brother, and I got some very interesting stuff on that. Basically, in the basement was where I would get now what we call electronic voice phenomena (EVPs), and I had a reel-to-reel recorder. I would sit it downstairs, and then I would listen back to it. And you shouldn't have had anything on it, but you would hear murmuring of voices. You would hear things moving. So even back then. And again, that was before EVP was coined as a phrase, or anyone other than the Warrens were investigating. So for that 10 years, I was investigating. Um, when I saw my uncle's ghost when he got killed, he appeared to me in my room. Um, he said, I love you. I want you to do good. I want you to get out there and see the world. And I'll always watch over you. And I thought, what the world is going on? Because I could see my breath suddenly. And he had a beer. They always had a beer in their hand, him and Dad. And they were very close. They served in the Navy together through the war. And so he set down his beer. And suddenly, then I realized I could see through him. And then slowly still faded away, and off he went. Now, I don't have enough time to describe the situation as far as things going on. This is at like 2:30 in the morning. The phone's ringing. I'm screaming. The mom is trying to get the steps and she's slipping because ice has formed on the steps that come to the upstairs bedroom, and the windows had frosted ice over and so forth. This is not wintertime. So she finally gets upstairs, and I'm not coherent enough to explain what I've just seen. And it's my uncle. It's my Uncle Bobby. It's my favorite guy. And but I just knew what that phone call was. What at this hour of the morning, it couldn't be good back them days. You didn't call people at 3 in the morning. And of course, the news was the hospital explaining to father that his brother had been killed, that he had hit or somehow. I'm not sure what the details were, but a tractor trailer, and he had been up and he did not fare well. His fiance also died with him. She was declared at the scene, and they worked on him for a while, but they couldn't bring him back. So, at the exact time that they gave my father was the exact, and my clock never worked right again. It wasn't a digital. It was, it wasn't one of those you had to wind it up, and you could wind it all day long after that. It wouldn't move a hand. It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. And it was stuck on that exact time that I had spoken to my Uncle Bobby, and realized that I was looking at his ghost and trying to deny that to myself because he was my favorite guy. He was a wonderful man. So were my parents. Um, so I didn't know what to do about that. And mother finally said, "Don't talk to dad about that because he's not gonna he won't reach around there. He doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in church, and I don't want you two to bump heads on that." And so I really didn't talk to anyone about this. But it did, this was again about 2 or 3 years into my own investigations with very low equipment. Um, and then, of course, I was busy, but I still, wherever I went, and I had my little Polaroid still, I would take photos if it was allowed. Like if I'm in a castle, odds are you couldn't take pictures there, but you could take pictures outside. And I had gotten some interesting things on camera in my days. And then all the equipment changed, and then you were just too busy. You have kids, you have jobs, you have college. All so I'm doing this on the down low, as I used to say. And by then, the shows were coming out, sightings and taps, ghost hunters, all that was starting to come out. X Files. So in the 90s, so we were all glued to those. So I know there's a lot of us out there that like this type of stuff, that we're very interested in it. In my case, it was personal, and it always will be. Um, and I understand what the word petrified means, guys. And I think there's a few others that also knows. They also kind of said something about sleep paralysis. Now, I wasn't asleep either time. I was never asleep running up those stairs. I was wide awake. But again, either time wasn't tired, wasn't sleepy. It was dead of night. I give it that. It was dark, always dark. The two times that I saw this thing in the window looking at me, um, it was nighttime. It was always nighttime. So apparently these things get around. And one investigations I found that you have a lot more activity at night, basically after midnight. Again, they say that's about the Trinity. Like if you hear three knocks on your, and I investigated one with two of my friends and they ended up moving, literally moved to Canada. It would start knocking and knocking and knocking around the walls as soon as it got dark. Like back then, it was like 5:30 or 6 when that happened, and you could hear it running over the top of you on the second floor, and then you would hear it downstairs, whatever it was, and you would try to investigate, and then you would hear, and I've seen videos of this, you would hear it running at you, and believe me, you move. There's no, well, let me get see if this is what is running up on you. You left the area if you weren't paralyzed. Um, but it didn't take them long. They left the house to be sold even after they had that. They picked up their stuff and they moved there fast within a couple of weeks time frame, because I only was able to investigate with my friends a few times. But yeah, there was something major going on there. And I've learned over the years, if it comes in threes, try not to acknowledge it, but the activity will get worse and worse and worse. And I try to keep holy water, holy oil, smudge sticks, because I keep moving for some reason throughout my days. I've lived in older homes, even in Europe. It's amazing what might show up at your house. And if you don't know that these things are possible, then it's even worse. And like I said, I started at that young age, and I knew that it was real, that I wasn't crazy. And seeing my uncle's ghost was one of the hardest things to do. Yet, I think that was the worst. And you know, they're not coming back to you. And that ring where he set that beer down on my desk, and I've always had a desk because I was always the typist, so I was doing things at home like that. And it stayed on that desk. It was always there. My brother, even when he inherited the home, he kept the desk. Because of course I told my brother the story. I was very close to my older brother when I got older. And, see what he thought about it. And he was like, "Dad, that's a bunch of hooey," but he kept that desk. When I showed him that ring, I said, "That's where Uncle Bobby put his beer bottle down." And he too loved Uncle Bobby, of course, but that he kept that desk. And then he handed the house off to his son 15 years later, and he kept the desk, although he'd never met Uncle Bobby. I'm not sure why he kept that desk, but he did. And from what I understand, it was sold along with the home by the grandson, or grandnephew rather. So I also believe my brother ran into things that he couldn't explain, but he didn't say anything. And I was younger, so I said something. So all these decades, I've looked into this, and so every channel, just about on YouTube, is they're looking for a ghost or they hear the knocking. Don't open your door. This is the one thing also I see a lot of, and I didn't know this. And you watch it over and over for decades, where people are catching, and the equipment's better and better. And finally, you go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Um, that knock out everywhere. Um, and that was what was going on at my friend Karen's house when they just got out. Um, and they were buying that home. That wasn't a rental home, so it stayed empty for months before someone finally bought it, and then they sold it. I mean, it just stayed on the market basically, and was still for sale when I left for the military many years later. And so I understand these guys, and it's so cute to me because they go looking. They're going ghost hunting. They've got the shirts, they've got the you know, all the equipment, and this is not cheap equipment because now everybody wants it, so it keeps getting higher. And I just keep a tape recorder. I noticed a couple of Georgia boys were doing it out of Atlanta. They have a barbershop, but they also hunt, and they just use their phones. They've got all kinds of stuff, apps on there that they can use. But I haven't done it in quite a few years. When we first moved here a little over a decade ago, I had a couple of things that happened, and I didn't like that. And so I immediately did the holy oil and blessed the home myself as much as I could, reading prayers. And then I went behind that and smudged it because my husband is a Native American and he's the chief of his tribe, albeit retired. So I also used the smudge stick. I saw one. I'll give you an example. I had a big angel that was given to me as a gift for Christmas, and it flew across the room. Well, I'm looking at it. I mean, it's on my mantle. And at that time, the couch was facing it, and it just flew and shattered against the wall. And I've never been able to find a replacement, which upset me. But so that was the kind of activity that launched me into doing something fast before anything else happened. And that seems to have been calming. I haven't had but a couple of little things that you really can't point at, so you second guess yourself as well. So if those things are going on, I hope people do reach out and get help. There's all kinds of things. Never touch a Ouija board. I got a story there that would get you as well. I don't want to take too much time on that. That should give you an idea. I'm already in the camp for another half an hour. You would think I would not really want to talk to myself, which is what I can say for very long. There's, of course, for entertainment purposes only. And for the love of light, throw something. I've got live chat on. You could throw anything in the comments at any time, and I will catch it. And I will get back to you if you want me to drop a video. Let me know. Whatever it is you're interested in, which is why I put down anything and everything, because not only am I interested in the paranormal, but I spent 5 decades, a little over, really, investigating the paranormal. The paranormal is very real. It's just as real as I am sitting here talking to you. And then I started noticing in the past 4 or 5 years with the shadow man or the hat man, or I call them the peekaboo, because they always are peeking out till you makes sure that you see it, because it wants that fear. And they all seem to want that, but it's been growing exponentially. I'm so shocked at how many videos a day that you can find on shadow people. There's a lot, and I like Amy and Steve on the Dead Files. Amy is actually has pulled out of the show for a while to rest, and I think she's got young girl named Cindy. I've seen her; she's good. Amy was awesome. She was always right on top of it. So that was one of the ones I call it my go-to channel. It's the Dead Files. Um, so there's a lot out there for people to learn, to understand how to use it, but they'll get out there with all that equipment and something will shut the door and they run. I saw one guy run over 2 women to get out of the room. So it cracks me up. I'm like, why did you go there? Why did you have all this equipment? Because you're ghost hunting. So if you see something abnormal, stand still and record it. The rest of us want to learn. The other thing I've also noticed is nobody seems to say, I mean, and there are many that get a lot of information. Amy and Steve are two. Actually, there's a good story here on reincarnation, which I also believe in, by the way. It's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, even in court. And that's another one that we should talk about. So, again, the paranormal, I just hesitate to throw these videos in because, again, it seems like plagiarism, and I have to work around that and learn exactly what the parameters are legally for me to be able to say, oh, okay, that's weird. Let's throw that in. But there's so much that it's going to be difficult to decide who gets what. But I don't know if it's because we have more cameras, if because there's more proliferation. I don't know. My husband and I, excuse me, took his mother's home when she passed away. His home was over 100 years old as well. My son and his wife were saving to buy a home. And so they stayed with us, and there was plenty of room. It was a huge home, plenty of bathrooms, plenty of rooms. And because it was just me and my husband at the time. So we welcomed them, of course, wholeheartedly. It's my son and his lovely wife. And she's an amazing woman. So they come to stay with us. And suddenly one day, and they moved out 2 weeks or so after this. My son went to the kitchen to get a soda, and you had a big dining room with French doors, and then you had another set of French doors that went into the kitchen. Now, I normally left those French doors open to just have a simple space. There was also another exit in the kitchen that ran into the hallway that took you to several bathrooms and so forth, bedrooms. And suddenly he comes running back, and we were watching some movie. I can't remember which one it was. Back then, you could go to Blockbuster. So he came running back, and he landed in my lap. He jumped over the couch. The couch was not facing those French doors, it was facing the opposite wall. And he jumped over me, over the top of that couch, and landed in my lap like he was 3 years old. Saying, and he was, at first, he could not speak, and I knew immediately something paranormal had happened. Because also we could hear my husband's father sometimes at 6 or 7 in the morning, get the hell out of bed. So we knew, and I used to see Native Americans as if there was a camping site in the fog of the early morning mist. And I was always up at 3 or 4 in the morning. So we knew that I did. I knew there was paranormal going on around. And so I'm trying to tell myself, what's going on? What's going on? Finally, he shifts off of me and, grabs his wife. I mean, he was trembling from head to foot. Why is a ghost, as we like to say. And he said, Mother, there was a black shadow being. There was that man, but it was blacker than black. And now everybody's heard that term now. But this happened in the 90s. And again, back then you would have had like sightings, I think, in X Files, but not a lot. I think Taps was out by then, and they were learning. They were running cable for 14 miles just to get their cameras to go everywhere. But a lot different than it is before the smartphones came out. Believe me, my phone's smarter than me. So that's why I use this phone. So he said, Mom, he couldn't spit it all out. And of course, Mom went into mom mode, and I'm gonna Rambo this crap. I mean, so I immediately go to my bedroom, which is adjacent in the hallway to the kitchen, and grab the holy water and run back into the kitchen, looking around. This again, it was a huge kitchen. It's not small. The kitchen is about as big as my living room here, so it was big and everywhere. And I don't see it. I don't see anything. That child of mine never went back into that room. Refused to go into that kitchen again. And my son is not a scaredy cat of anything. He's a great kid, although he's in his 40s now. But the reaction that he had, you just absolutely knew he had gone through something. Something was in that house. And I kept telling my husband that it was evil. There was so much evil. And every time we lived in that city, everything, it was as if evil would swallow you up. And it wasn't just you, it's the people you knew, the family members. It's as if you're living in evil. I don't know how better to explain it. I won't go back there again. My husband moved me back there 3 times, and I told him if he ever moved back to that city again, he could go by himself because I wasn't gonna go. Because you would lose everything, literally, just about lose everything and be on your last dime and not know what way to go or turn. And this particular incident angered me greatly because it scared my son. And my son was 25, I think, at the time. And he wasn't a coward of any sort. I mean, he didn't care about, he would go against anything. It's like Robert, they just Rambo it. But for my son to run and jump in my lap, that was, I knew instantly because I had been through it myself. And then again, these shadow things, and I call them peekaboos because they'll keep doing that, like around the door frame. I saw one in an airplane. It was just peeking out. You saw it 3 or 4 times. The guy's using his phone as a flashlight in his video, calling at the same time security. So security was sent. They kept hearing things. And this thing popped its head out, I think like 4 or 5 times before the guy saw it. And then he ran. But I'm seeing, like I said, I'm seeing these shadow critters everywhere, everywhere. Ghost of Carmel, Maine, he's got quite a bit of them. I mean, almost any of the paranormal shows, Twin Paranormal, Casper Site, he's one of they call a reactor. They pull videos and they react to what they're seeing. This is one of the reasons I don't really care to do it that way. So that's my small paranormal experience. There's quite a few more, but I'm sure there's many out here that say the same thing as me. We've all been around long enough to go from literally, a bike. That's how you got around, you know, to these kids, they're just driving these little things, stand up on. There's no way I'm going to try that. I'd be airborne over a curve. No, I have enough trouble with my car. So I thought I would share a little bit of that. And the shadow thing I touched on that got my son. Uh, and now he says he won't even say it ever happened again. I can't blame him. It's a hard subject for people to talk about, and he's in his 40s and he's at the top of his career, so I don't bring it up. And yeah, and we ourselves ended up. We had 2 more months to pay off the home, and the owner died and passed it to the daughter. And the daughter went to court because she wanted the home and would not accept the payments, not even together. I see my husband is trying to reach me, and he knows I'm on straight. Yes, dear, I'm on live. Hold on. Well, hurry up, please. Gotcha. Thank you, darling. Bye. That was my loving husband. He ran to the bank for me. And I did ask him to call me with the bottom line so that I don't go over because you have a balance and you have an available balance. And I used to bank online. And every time I tried to do it, something screwed up. And then I'd have to get a new password and go back. And it's just too much. So So I went back to the lazy way, and I just had my husband drop it off. Our retirement checks are sent to the bank automatically. So, now I understand that mark of the beast thing. And that's just why I think there's been a prolific uptick of the paranormal that's going on, especially as I was describing those shadow critters. The one, I should look that one up. There's one I saw that a pilot was sitting in a plane. He was there very early. It was still dark. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning. And there's, how when you deplane, you walk through a tunnel to get into the main terminal. Well, that's what this was, but it didn't have a plane at it, and you could see it was clear, so you could see it, and it was well lit. And the pilot is filming as people are it look like they're deplaning. I mean, but they're floating, and there's a lot of them. And I think I watched about 10 minutes of that footage. It's just person after person after person. It looked as real as me right now. And there was no plane there. The airport wasn't even open yet. This pilot just came early to do things, and I'm not sure why, but he got some fascinating footage of this. But there was no plane docked there. The airport was closed, but you could see these people coming across. They're carrying bags. It was That was creepy. There is a lot of this to me. There's no explanation for any of this. 5 decades of investigation. The only thing I can say of all of that I've seen is that it's real, and that the technology has caught up to such a point that it is shown to everybody to be real. And I think that's a great thing because I know, like I said, that this kind of an event would happen to more than one of us. And I see several videos where they'll start to uh, record it or video it or whatever we want to say. Um, and it gets worse. It's like they say, don't interact with that. If you hear knocking on your door, you don't open the door because you're letting it in. But most people, I can't even see up the people on my door. I'm too short. So there's only one way for me to tell. I have to open the door. But usually it's the doorbell that I'll do it. And I can see if I go back into the master bedroom, I can look out and I can see if someone's standing there. I also don't like to just open a door. I keep a weapon within 3 to 4 feet of me at all times, even especially now. As we all know, I can't believe what they did to Trump and called it legal. And it's $87,000 penalty per day that he doesn't pay them $500 million. You just can't make this stuff up. So while all that's going on, people are also trying to deal with the fact that, and it's like I said, this has come up. It's increasing. I don't know why, but it is increasing. I did hear Amy from the Dead Files talk about the shadows people before, and she said they were not from and had never been alive here, that they were a different dimension, and that if they did or were able to grab you to pull you into their dimension, it would kill you, but it can come in here, and that it likes fear. It does feed off this. I don't know if that means every shadow person, or if that just meant the one she was dealing with. She'd also talked about aliens, and it doesn't matter where you move to, they will find you. And then many times that she had to tell people, if you stay in this house, it will continue to get worse. It's trying to kill you. There's nothing else that you can do but move. And even then, it's possible it will follow you. So these are things I wish that the university thinks would take more seriously, maybe send a team to investigate these things and catalog these things because they're increasing. And that was why I wanted to tell you about my personal experiences with them. I'm trying to think of the one that I was thinking about to put. I was thinking of putting one in, which was the deplaning of. To me, there was just plain. These ghosts were taking off, getting out of a ghost plane, but the plane could not be seen. Of course, it was just people. And after that, I thought, oh, I never want to go to the airport again. But if you look for it, there's two that might pop up: the shadow critter and the plane with the security guard. And then there's the other one, which is people deplaning, ghost deplaning when there was no plane. And I'm not sure how you would find it, but I'm sure most of you could navigate this better than me. And I did get a few feedbacks this time, and to hang in there and to keep doing what I'm doing. And I watch a lot of these myself, and I find that I'm not the only one who just gets up and talks about these things. Most people do. And if it's like my channel, they'll also maybe the next day drop a few in that's paranormal or whatever it was they were talking about before. And these are on different venues, but mainly paranormal or reactors to paranormal. There's very few of us that get out here and want to know what it is that the audience wants to see. Uh, uh, what the audience wants to talk about. Uh, there's just there's so much going on in that realm. Again, and I wish that the universities would look into this more. I really do. But it's basically it's just me and you. So if these things are going on in your home, usually the church will not help you. And if you do like I did at my late mother-in-law's home, which was bless it myself and smudge it um, with sage sticks, you can get them at most of the vapor stores. In any event, this can make it worse. So you have to be very careful. And none of us know what we're doing. we're just we're just trying whatever we can think of, or whatever somebody told us to do. So those things I wanted to make a little bit of an idea on. My cat's been on my microwave. This is why I drink coffee in the morning. So I thought anybody has any questions about those kind of things, please pop them in the comments. If you want to see videos of them, again, it's easy to pull one of these videos, and I do every day. I saw again as a young lady named Mia, and she's an IDF soldier, and she was taking people and press through some of the kibbutzes that had been hit so hard and the horrible atrocities that took place here. I'm not going to repeat those, but I hope they keep that at least one of those the way it is. Um, One also showed lines and lines of cars that are stacked one on top of the other that were at the concert in the desert. These guys were only a couple miles away. The kibbutzes, you could see Gaza Strip from their window. I mean, this is how close they were. These guys, and most of them did just walk over. And on top of that, they never pointed out that the terrorists would move on maybe to something else. But then the citizens, those Palestinians that everybody's worried about, ran through these openings that the terrorists had made to get into these kibbutzes. And they would go behind the terrorists and start stealing stuff, TVs, whatever, wallets, money off of the dead. And again, I can't say that the Palestinians are not complicit in Hamas. They are. There's so much evidence that supports that you really cannot say that they're not involved. They're involved. Um, I hate to see what's happening to them, and I understand that finally they'd had enough. I've been wondering myself. Several million people are being displaced. Their homes blown up. Where in the heck? I'd be so PO'd to whoever did this to me in my country. And that's the reason I'm having to flee with my 3 kids. That I'd be finding a weapon and I'd be shooting some people. there'd be some dead terrorists around. It just would be, I tell you now. Because most mothers are like bears. You mess with their kids, and it's on. This is why I've always carried a weapon, not just to defend myself, but because I once got pinned down at the Battle of Flowers parade when a shooter in an RV was just picking them off like fish in a barrel. And I was pinned myself. I could not get free because I was in the line of fire. And I never wanted to feel like that again. I wasn't worried about me. I had grabbed 3 kids and a woman, the mother, and pulled them down behind me, and the shots were going through the car. And I'm praying because these kids are here. And it was horrific. It was really horrific. And I knew then that I would never, ever be caught without a weapon. Because if any one of us had had a weapon that day, maybe we wouldn't have been pinned down under fire for hours until the police could get a shot off or whatever. Maybe that weapon will not just defend me. It might defend that woman and her 3 babies next to me. And that's why I carry a weapon. And I'm well trained to use it as well. And mine, I'm so worried about my eyesight. So it's got a laser sight, so it'll paint you. That red dot you see on TV, the movies, that's what mine does. So I don't have to run after you. I don't have to hit you. I'm just going to pull the trigger. I'm not going to yell, hey, stop that. I've got a weapon. No. Ladies, if you have a weapon, you keep them for defense. You don't warn them. You do immediately use the weapon, grab that weapon, and immediately use that weapon. Don't question yourself until later. Women are built different than men, as we all know. Some men are stronger in some areas, and in other areas, women are stronger. And I'm not going to get into all that. But a lot of cases, women in particular, will pull a weapon, but the weapon is turned against them. So if you pull it, you've got to be fast. You've got to pull and fire immediately. And my suggestion to women who get a weapon, or if they already have a weapon, to go at least every other month or so to the range, check your weapon, fire it, make sure the sighting's right and all that. Or like with mine, use the laser sight. Um, these is important. There's too much stuff going on, and people are dying everywhere. I understand. I don't have a clue how these kids are killing each other in school. But even where I grew up in Chicago, it was during the time that finally they got rid of all this black has to go through this door crap, you know. And so ours had bulletproof windows. They had steel doors that shut off areas. This was a big school. It was like a college. And you also had the nuclear tunnels running underneath, which is where you're supposed to go in case of a nuclear attack, duck and cover, we called it. I always said, get under that desk and put your head between your knees because there's a nuclear weapon on the way. Like that was going to help us, right? And I was like, okay, this works. But we all loved the tunnels because they were like the size of a road. I mean, you could literally have driven a car through them, and they connected to everything. Kind of like the ones the Gaza terminal was, whatever they were calling it. Yeah, it's horrific. So back them days, things were, there were riots and so forth and so on, but which I didn't actually get too involved in. I was lucky I left school early because I just took what I had to take and took off, and was secretary as well. So I usually got out of high school, but I was home by 1:30. So most of that stuff seemed to take off after the last lunch, and I'm usually gone by then. So it was bad, but they had built it that way, and they had a police presence always in there. And that's before anybody could go through and scan and see if you had weapons and stuff, and you had to have plastic bags. And, we didn't have book bags. We carried our books. So, it was a different era. But if there had been a live shooter on our school grounds, we would have known about it instantly. They'd have closed that particular area off, and the police would have been there within probably 60 seconds. I mean, and I've seen that. I actually lived through that, so I know that's where it was done. So I don't understand how, with all the stuff that we know today, and these mass shootings, and then the child killing themselves generally. I don't know why this is how they're getting in and why these kids are not protected. Why aren't there bulletproof doors that you could shimmy underneath it? You know, bulletproof glass, bulletproof doors. These kids are dying. This isn't rocket science. You've got to do something to make sure these kids are safe from the other kids, which is a horrible idea to me as well. And I think also, and if it were me, it would be the teachers need to be taught and they need to be weaponized. They don't have to take the weapon home. It should be a weapon that they can only get to it in a lockbox that no kid knows about. So that when they are pinned down and if that shooter gets in the room, they can kill them. And my advice, people, especially to you women, because the men will do it anyway, aim for his head. And it's usually he. This last one was a female, but aim for the head. Because a lot of them have found out that body armor works. And you don't have that many rounds in a regular weapon. And you're not, unless you're walking around with automatic, you're not going to get too many shots off. You got to stop it fast. I heard one that was reloading and reloading and reloading and reloading. I'm thinking, why didn't you jump this guy when he was reloading? There were 30 of you. There was one guy, he's reloading. Get him. But all this is shock and awe. It really must be because I went through similar things. But I trained in karate most of my young adulthood. Um, Carried a weapon since I was 17, 18 years old. So it's a little different for me. And I had regular Army training. Um, this is not true of most civilians. So go take that course. That most sheriff's departments, if they don't have a course, then there's probably one in the next county or whatever, and they can advise you on that. So always check with the deputies in your county or the sheriffs. You can call. You can actually probably look it up online. I mean, I called when I moved here, so you just have to have a license to carry. And I like the fact they finally got around to doing that. I see my timing's getting up. So I hope I've been of some entertainment today. I did get, I was over the moon because I had almost 200 views. And I was like, have you ever seen an old lady get excited? This is the best we could do. We're not jumping around and around. We're like, you know, I call it the Lucy look, Raise the roof. That's an old one. But I also wanted to be not just entertaining, but I wanted to be a little bit funny. I'm surprised. I don't usually watch these back that often, especially when I do live. And I see that it's echoing again. And I used to be a fairly enunciated loudspeaker, but I also noticed that I speak a little mixed up sometimes, not quite as enunciated as it should be to be understood. I'm talking too fast. And so some people can't keep that pace with me. So I'm trying to slow it down a little bit. And like I said, I was over the moon because I had almost 200 views. I had 168 likes, I think it was. So please hit the like bell. Throw some comments in there, guys. I can't tell you, I love doing this, but it's rather difficult to talk to yourself for about an hour every day. I don't know that many jokes. So hit me back, guys. Hit like, hit down, put down in the comments if there's something you would like to discuss. If there's something else that you would like to see, I mean, please put them in there. This channel is nothing without you guys. It's just nothing. I could stop today. Of course, and I'm not looking for 4 million viewers, although that would be fun. Can you imagine how much fun that would be? 4 million people with something to say. Woohoo! So this is why I say this is I call it my social Woodstock because this is what we can do on this. It's again my social Woodstock. Jump in there, guys. Do a live chat. If you're not able to jump in on the live stream, please, if you see it, throw a like on there. I need subscribers. I don't think I have that many. I can't quite remember the number. But you hit that little bell, you get free subscription. So far, I don't have a promotion or any sales going. I want to know what my audience is before I try to do any of that. And I want to do that. By the way, there's one called the Y Files with AJ and Hecklefish. So y'all look that up. It is the cutest thing. But he has a production team, and it's like it's just because I need that. It's very good. And like me, he touches on different subjects as he goes. Again, it's run quite a lot better. They can drop a video faster than I can. But I'm learning. So if there are some videos that you want me to throw out there, if there's some information, anything. That's why it says anything and everything, because I want to actually interact with other people. And the wonderful thing about social Woodstock here is we're not going to have a mass shooter. We're just going to be talking to each other. So come on, hit the like bell. Join me at the bar. I really do miss people. And I used to do this, of course, face to face. So I think the immediate thing for me, like I said, is it's my social Woodstock. But I need you guys. I respect all of you so much for giving me any time at all because I know everyone is very busy. But I so appreciate all of you. And I pray that everyone has a beautiful day. We've only got one more day and we've got Friday. So that'll be great. To me, it's not much difference because I'm retired. And I spend the day every morning. I try to drop a vlog in here for an hour. And again, I'm still waiting to hear from a lot of you to tell me what you would like to see, what you would like to talk about, what you don't want to talk about. If you don't like it, again, I'm not, I'm going to be here all week. It's just, I'm not going anywhere. This is my entertainment. And that's just a little bit sad, right? So come on over, guys. Hit the like. Look at the video. Tell me, hey, lady, do this or do that, or I don't want you to do this. I don't know. Throw something at me. We baby boomer hippies, however they want to describe us. We might have something that we could teach the younger child. I think all of this needs to be taught. Um, like I said, I thought the university should be more involved in the paranormal side of what's going on, which is increasing at an exponential rate. And so I have to go away now because I can't take any more folks' time, or I would. I mean, like that. So everybody have a great day, and I guess I'll see you guys on Friday. If you see me, throw something in there. Hit that like button for me. I don't care. Hit the dislike button. I don't care. I just know you were watching that. Hopefully, we didn't have too many sound problems. I don't have a production team. I have me. And I'm learning this equipment as I go, but I love every second of this. I really do. So please contact me, throw a like on there, whatever you feel to doing. And I appreciate you guys, each and every one of you, all of you. Stay safe, be happy, have a good time, but stay out of trouble. Gotta go. Toodles.